This podcast is part of the Gun Rights Radio Network. Podcasting freedom.
Hey, Walt here from WaltNPA.com, recording another episode of Shooting the Breeze, the formal gun podcast of WaltNPA.com. To be completely honest with you, I really don't know what episode number this is supposed to be. It's been so long since I've recorded one of these episodes that I feel kind of guilty, and I feel completely out of the loop on what's going on and what I've done leading up to this. And things have just been really busy in life, really stressful trying to manage everything that I've got going on. My wife taking night classes, throw a 2-year-old into the mix, and, finding that free time to make things happen, such as recording this podcast, has been really difficult over the last few weeks. I've been pushing those episodes off, week after week after week. I think we're about 3 weeks behind now. Practically took the entire month of October off, and I think the last week of September. The only reason I'm recording this podcast is because I've got about 45 minutes to kill. I'm on my way to a Sanctioned IDPA match that I'm shooting this afternoon. And, I thought it would be fun to just kind of talk along the way and see if we can get back into this podcasting groove. So if you're hearing, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast and you hear air whooshing through the window and, a string of expletives thrown at the car in front of me for doing something stupid, it's because I'm in my vehicle. And if you're watching the video portion, my apologies if you're getting really distracted by things going by the window, but it kind of is what it is, and we're just going to roll with it. Over the last few weeks, we've ended one contest for a signed copy of Shoot, Your Guide to Shooting, a competition by Julie Golub. I started up a new contest to give away the month of October's book. Last month it was really discouraging. We only had one entry. I realized that it was going to be difficult because I ramped up the difficulty considerably. We went from something really simple like leave a comment or answer this question or answer that question to actually making shooters go out to the range and work on accuracy. We did fairly well with the first accuracy contest, shooting at a bullseye at 7 yards. I think it was a 3-inch dot that I wanted 3 rounds in. And we did fairly well with that. We got a good number of entries. The following month is when I did this smiley face target with various size dots to shoot at, and we had one, which was great. He did it, which was awesome. But it seems like I went a little too far with ramping up the difficulty. So the month of October is much simpler. Now, all I'm asking you to do is follow me on social media services, and I'm going to randomly select a winner by pooling all of those followers and likes together into one giant list, and we'll just kind of randomize it, draw a name, and that person will receive a free copy of Shoot, Your Guide to Shooting Competition, which will come along with an autographed book plate by Julie Golub. Another thing we've got going on, which has been going on for a little while now. I'm really surprised we haven't given it away already. But I have a free license for My Gun Database. I talked about that in previous episodes, where it's a piece of software that works on a variety of platforms. It's even available on mobile devices now, that allows you to track firearm inventory, accessory inventory, cleaning logs, maintenance logs, things like that, so that you have sort of a digital book of all of your firearms related stuff. At this point, it is not a range log, so it's not like the range log software, but it is it does do a variety of other things, and it does them very well. I'm very happy with the software. I'm a user. I'm very happy with it, and you know, all that good stuff. So if you would like a copy of that, my apologies, it just got much louder because the giant piece of farm equipment in front of me turned off onto a side road. But if you would like to win that free license, it's really simple. Just head over to facebook.com/WaltInPA. Give me a like. When I hit 250 likes, I'll be randomly selecting a name from that list, and you get yourself a free copy of my gun database. Well, the free. It's an upgraded license. The software is free for up to 10 firearms, but the license that I'll be giving you opens it up even further, so that you can do much more stuff with it. You're not limited to number of firearms and things like that. So free stuff. Just got to do a little work to get it. Well, I may or may not have mentioned that I'm on my way to a sanctioned IDPA match at the moment. A few episodes back, I discussed wanting to shoot this sanctioned IDPA match. It is my first major match, if you want to consider it major, combined in sports. I've never done any sanctioned IDPA match, and I've never done anything level 2 or beyond in USPSA. So I was kind of excited about this opportunity to shoot a more high-profile match in the relative area. And there were a number of obstacles that I needed to complete before I could qualify to shoot the match. I needed to get my IDPA membership. I needed to get the paperwork in. I needed to get the membership number back. I needed to get that to a host club that was going to run an IDPA classifier. And then on top of that, I had to get all of this together so that I could submit it with an application to shoot this sanctioned match. And it proved to be kind of difficult because there was a cutoff date in September, and trying to get all of that stuff taken care of in a fairly small window was a little concerning. I didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to make it. Fortunately, I was able to get everything together. I got my application in. I got accepted into the match. I'm good to go. The only downside was that I completed everything so late that the self-squatting system was pretty much full up. There was only one available slot in the afternoon, and because of the way this match is set up, they have a morning squad, or a morning shoot, and an afternoon shoot. Everyone wants to shoot in the afternoon because that's when the raffles and the prize announcements and stuff are made. It's immediately following the afternoon match. No one wants to shoot in the morning and then kill a couple of hours until the prizes are assigned. So everyone's trying to get in on the afternoon squads. And finally, when I got my self-squatting information, there was one slot available. I took it. I'm on squad 34. I do not know a single person that I'm shooting with, but I guess it's better than shooting with a couple of friends in the morning and then trying to find something to do for 3 or 4 hours when you're an hour away from home. So it should be kind of interesting. I've never done this before. It's my 4th IDPA match, and going into this, I've been having a really difficult time deciding on how I wanted to shoot this match, or how I wanted to shoot IDPA in general. If you've listened to past episodes, you know that I'm a USPSA shooter, and I'm pretty competitive with it. When I go to a match, I'm striving to win, whether it's my class or keeping up with a higher classed shooter. I take it very seriously, and I tend to beat myself up when I underperform on certain things, or if I drop points that I shouldn't be dropping, or whatever the case may be. I tend to take it very seriously, and I get on myself over that, and sort of point out those flaws so that I can address them later. The whole objective behind getting into IDPA was to shoot my carry gun, be much more relaxed in shootings, focus more on accuracy, and let speed fall by the wayside. Just kind of get out there and be proficient with my carry gun. And that's kind of been the objective. I've been going out. I've shot 3 matches at this point. My 3rd match, I shot with my carry gun at a very relaxed pace, and I think I did pretty well. It was an 8-stage match, and stages 1 through 7 were fantastic. I was 4 points down the entire match, and I was thrilled. I didn't care about my time. I just thought it was awesome that I had 4 points down in the entire match. And then I shot this last stage. My last stage of the day was the most complicated of the day, and I bombed it hard. Last stage, last shooter of the day. How bad could this possibly be, right? It was terrible. I wound up 18 points down, and I had an atrocious score on top of it. I just could not hit these 2 steel plates. I must have threw 10 rounds at these 2 plates before they went down. And, you know, strong hand, weak hand shooting was involved as well, and I just didn't do very well in that regard either. But, you know, all in all, I was happy with my performance. 22 points down wasn't ideal, but it wasn't, you know, it didn't, like, break my heart either. So I left that match feeling pretty good about my shooting and myself. So a couple of days later, the scores are released, and, you know, I'm kind of interested. I wasn't fast, but I had few points down. You know, I felt that I did pretty good. And there were 8 shooters in my class, which is sharpshooter, stock service pistol. I came in 7th place, and the second that I saw that, my competitive drive swelled up to incredible levels, and I found myself kind of annoyed at my performance, and suddenly I wanted to shoot this IDPA match, this sanctioned match, just like I would a USPSA match, where I'm pushing hard, you know, concentrating, you know, pushing accuracy, pushing speed, you know, just kind of hitting this hard. And I'm torn. I don't know how I want to shoot the match. I still don't know how I want to shoot the match. I brought both guns. I have my Glock 19. I have my USPSA Glock 17. And I'm not going to know how I feel about shooting this match until I actually get there. You know, there are no nerves. I don't feel any pressure to perform really well. I just want to be safe, have fun, and have a respectable score at the end of the day. I guess that's kind of the key, regardless of how I shoot it, is I want to look back at it and feel as though I have a respectable score. And, you know, if I push it like I do USPSA, there's a good chance that I'm going to drop many more points than I would if I were to shoot it like past IDPA matches. And I don't know. I don't know what that's going to do to how I feel about the match and my placement. So I got about a half an hour to decide. When I'll be there in about a half an hour, and then you know, I'll get registered, and I guess I'll need to make a decision before I strap on a gun. Well, I'm getting kind of close to the club. I should be about 10 minutes away, and I just wanted to turn the camera on and talk just a little bit. You know, before I got out of the car, shot the match, and hopefully had the energy to turn the camera back on and record some thoughts on my way home. Each podcast I do a cigar and drink pairing, and I wasn't quite sure whether or not I wanted to do that this time around. The cigar that I was smoking is a Primeros by, it's a Carmelo Primeros by Honduras Caribbean Tobacco. It's a cigar that I really don't know too much about. I got some samples, or I got one sample from the IPCPR trade show back in August, and it burned miserably. It didn't smoke very well. The manufacturer found out and sent me 2 more to see what I thought of a cigar that potentially would, or hopefully would, burn better. Both of those samples did burn better, but they really didn't blow my hair back. Nothing mind-blowing about them. They were decent cigars. They burn well. Good smoke volume. They're a little harsh on the palate, or a little hard on the palate, kind of aggressive. They've got a little bit of a peppery taste to them. It lingers for longer than I prefer. I kind of like the flavors to kind of roll off the palate after a minute or so, and leave you feeling kind of fresh and ready to go for the next, you know, blast of flavor. But in this case, that sort of harsh peppery kind of a texture just lingered for too long. And as that lingered, you just kind of build on it over and over and over again with each puff, and it just kind of gets to be too much. A couple of years ago, I used to love cigars that were really powerful and just really aggressive on the palate. These days, I find I enjoy cigars that are a bit more mellow, more laid back. I'm more of a medium-bodied kind of guy, and this cigar was more along the lines of something that was full-bodied, full-flavored. Decent cigar, but really nothing that blew my hair back and would make me run out and purchase more. Another another reason I really didn't know whether or not to do this to do this portion of the podcast is because I really have no idea whether Mike over at Buckhead carries the line or not. So we're just going to make this really broad. If you want to purchase cigars, head on over to AskTheCigarGuys.com. It's Mike from Buckhead Cigars website, where he lists all of the products that he's sort of featuring or putting on sale. He lists 5-pack and box pricing. What you see is what you pay. There's no additional shipping charge or anything like that. It's all sort of rolled into the final price. You can pick up the phone and give Mike a call. This should be difficult because I haven't done it in a while. It's, 844-0400. 404-844-0400, I think is Mike's phone number. I'll have to double check, but it should be flashing on the screen if you're watching the video portion of the podcast. So support Mike. He's a fellow gun guy. He's my preferred cigar retailer, actually my favorite cigar retailer, and let him know that Walt sent you. A few days ago, actually about a week ago, I recorded a portion of the Shooting the Breeze podcast before I attended the Liberty match at Valley Forge, which is a sanctioned IDPA match hosted by the Lower Providence Rod and Gun Club here in Pennsylvania, down in the Oaks area, or the Audubon area actually. And I was kind of excited about shooting the match. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to go about actually shooting the match, what kind of mindset I wanted to go in. Whether I wanted to have that sort of gamer mindset, or if I was going to play the game, more along the lines of, tactical practice, so to speak. And the video kind of ended as I arrived at the club. I was planning on turning the camera back on afterwards and recording a little bit on how I shot, my performance and things like that. But by the time that we were done, things ran a little bit later than anticipated, and I don't think I got out of there until after 7 p.m. So it was dark, and there was just no way to record, and I really didn't get to it the days after because Hurricane Sandy came through, and things were just a mess. Things are more or less back to normal. We weren't affected by it too much, just some cleanup, but I haven't gotten around to recording another piece of video to go along with that partial podcast. And since I'm on my way out to Cigars International, the superstore near Cabela's, I thought it was a good opportunity to turn the camera on and record that bit that I didn't get to do. So, how did I shoot? Well, I decided that I was going to leave the Glock 19 in the bag, and I was going to shoot it much like I would a USPSA match. Not quite as fast, but I was going to look at it from a gamer's perspective. I wasn't going to go in and try to eke out every little millisecond I could from my time. But I went out there with the mindset that I want to shoot this kind of fast. We'll let accuracy dip a little bit so that we can push through this, and we'll see how I place. When the day was finished, I was a little concerned. I really didn't want to look at my score sheet. I had one stage which was not so good. I think I was 11 or 12 points down. That really hurt. And then there was another stage that I shot quickly. Now, it was a standard stage. However, I shot it too quickly. My 5.2 something odd second time wound up being more than double that because of a procedural error for not using cover, and I had a miss on the target and some points down. So it was that stage hurt, and then there was one other one that was just atrocious. And aside from that, I felt like I shot a comfortable match. I felt like I had a good flow. I was going, comfortably from stage to stage to stage. Our squads were small enough that I never felt like I was being iced down. There was one point when there was a little bit of a backup, and we were waiting for a squad ahead of us. And at that point in time, I was kind of getting kind of antsy. I wanted to go out and shoot, but I wasn't standing around long, and we were back in the action and just sort of warming back up again. So I think the match was run very well. I really liked the way they handled parking. I was concerned, you know, it was funny. My only concern going into the match was, am I going to get a parking spot? Because I have an afternoon slot, you know, are any of the guys in the morning going to be hanging around? You know, where am I going to park? Because this particular range was having issues a couple of months back with rocks being kicked up over the berm, and a lot of cars parked on the other side of the berm. Someone had their windshield or their sunroof broken from a kicked up rock, and I didn't want to park back there, so I didn't know if there was going to be any place to park aside from, you know, that little bit of a danger zone. It turns out that they managed the parking really well. They had people, you know, pointing and moving. They were directing traffic, assigning parking places, and that seemed to make things go really easy. We were able to get in, get the car set up, and get into the registration building, which was also a breeze. You know, we went right through registration in no time at all, and we were getting lunch and getting ready to shoot. There was a bit of standing around early on. The morning squad was running a bit behind, which I knew would in turn make the afternoon squad run behind, and I was there, I'm going to say 7.5 to 8 hours, you know, throughout the entire day. So it was a long match. There was a long time spent at the range, but I really enjoyed myself. So before I got off on a tangent, I made mention that I was afraid to look at the scores when they were finally released. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to place, and being that this was my 4th IDPA match, one of those 4 being a classifier, I really didn't know what to expect. You know, when you're competing in a game against people that are accustomed to the game or familiar with the game, it becomes difficult to climb in the rankings, and that was very apparent to me when I shot my first IDPA match, and I wasn't familiar with the rules, the nuances of the game. I'm still not, and I got beat up on by the same people that I beat up on in USPSA. So it was kind of a humbling and interesting experience, you know, shooting IDPA, and I wasn't quite sure, you know, how it was going to work out for me in the rankings. So I didn't look at the paperwork. The guy I was there with, the Angry Pig Shooting Squad, which is a great group of guys, and they announced my score for me. I was 4th place in the stock service pistol division, sharpshooter class, and I was really happy with that. I was awarded a 4th place little pin. You know, I joked at the award ceremony that, you know, this little pin is going to look ridiculous hanging on my wall. I was really looking forward to one of those plaques that IDPA typically hands out. But I guess because this is a patriotic themed match, just as the Patriot match was, I think that was a month and a half ago. You know, they awarded medals, and they have for the class winners, they had these large bells, which were really cool. I didn't get one in 4th place, but you know, everything was sort of along those lines. You know, it had that bronze or brass sort of appearance to it. Bronze, I guess, is the proper word. But, you know, it had that sort of bronze appearance. It had a red, white, and blue ribbon attached to it. Little, you know, pin it to your shirt kind of a thing. Not around the neck medal. I think that would have been better. But listen to me griping about it, griping about my award. But at any point, I performed pretty well. I was really happy with the results. I did better than I anticipated. I didn't make a match bump. Thank God. I did not want to get a match bump at this match. There were, I think, 31 people registered as sharpshooter at the match. I think there were 26 total that shot, whether there was a classification change, a division change, you know, whatever the case was. Prior to when I signed up and before the match started, you know, there were some alterations in the divisions. So I was shooting against, I think, 26 or 27 other competitors. And there's a match bump awarded for the winner of every 10 shooters. So I think I understand how this works. If there are 30 shooters in a given division, after the match is done, places 1, 2, and 3 will be bumped up to the next classification because they technically won. If there's only 10 shooters, the first place guy gets bumped up to the next division, the next classification. and I was really glad not to get the bump to expert, because I'm having trouble holding my own in sharpshooter division. There's just a lot of things that I need to work on, and I think my weak point at this stage is shooting things from a semi-static position, being condensed in one area. I think that I do better in USPSA because I can move around, use my feet, make up time in different ways. And in IDPA, it's very strict as far as, shoot this from here, shoot that from there. And, there's not a whole lot of leeway in what you can do and what you can't do. Not so much as where USPSA is pretty much, okay, here are the fault lines, shoot it any way you want, anyhow, just stay safe and have at it. And IDPA is very different. It's a very different feel. So I was very happy with my performance. I look forward to shooting my next match. Actually, I would love to go shoot another IDPA sanctioned match. The staff was great. Stages were fun. It was just a good time, straight on through. I think I'll be shooting IDPA from here on out because the USPSA season is pretty much over. There's one more match this month in November, third Saturday, out at Southern Chester, which is their last match of the season. They're talking about doing a revolver-friendly match. That makes no difference. I'm going to shoot production anyway, and that should be fun. That's what I'm expecting my last match of the season to be. York, Pennsylvania, is also doing a USPSA classifier match. I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to go to that. I should. I kind of want to, just to see where my classification falls. One of my goals this season was to make B, and at this pace, not unless I shoot a Grandmaster score at the Southern Chester USPSA match with their classifier, I'm not going to make B. So I was considering shooting up to York and running the classifier match to see how I fare if I went up this season, or if I'm going to be C next season, which seems more likely. But that's kind of what's on the agenda. My camera's pretty close to dead. It's been sitting in my car for a little while now. So I'm done. Thanks for watching. Head on over to waltnpa.com for more shooting stuff. You can like me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/WaltNPA, and I am also on Twitter as WaltW and at WaltNPA. So again, thanks for watching the Shooting the Breeze podcast, the formal podcast, or the formal gun podcast of WaltNPA.com, and I will catch you next time.
You can hear Gun Rights Radio Network on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, or Palm phones, on demand and on the go. Don't have Stitcher? Download it for free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Stores. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. Gun Rights Radio Network shows can be found under Sources.